Hey guys, I figured I'd find a really nice spot to come and do this story I've been talking about or mentioning for a while. The idea was inspired by something Kevin from Homesteading on the Grid said about bad choices, circumstances, bad things turning into good things. And this is a long one. I don't know how much detail I should leave out or put in because it could actually probably be written into a book. But we'll try to do this in one take off the top of my head. There was a man and a woman, let's call them Harold and Sally, that were married shortly after World War II ended. He served honorably during the whole Second World War. And sometime, I'm not sure the exact time, they decided they wanted to start a family. And she became pregnant, and I'm not certain of the circumstances, but they had a little boy, and I don't know if the baby died, if it was a miscarriage or what, but they lost a little boy. Fast forward to around sometime in 1963, Sally's sister Joan got pregnant, and she did not want to raise a baby on her own, and she gave the little boy to Harold and Sally to raise as their own, which they did. They brought him home from the hospital day one, and they raised that little boy as their own. And for years, the little boy just went on doing little boy stuff, and it became apparent to the little boy when he got old enough to read and understand that his last name was different than theirs, and that Aunt Joe's last name was the same as his, and the resemblance was quite remarkable. The little boy didn't care, though. He wanted for nothing. Harold and Sally took really good care of him. Had a place up north. Got himself a little motorcycle, about 8 or 9 years old, maybe 10. And as time went on, got a snowmobile, got a bigger motorcycle, got a street bike. Things were great. Fast forward to around 1980, when the kid needed to get his driver's license. Sally had to get the birth certificate, and she asked him, well, do you know who your mother is? And he's like, well, yes, name's the same. And she was like, you're correct. Joe is your real mom. No mention of father. There is a father named on the birth certificate. But anyways, fast forward to that, getting the driver's license, and that pretty much ended the coming up north, because the whole world opened up for him getting the driver's license and all that. And then we'll skip ahead to around 1984. He had a girl that really developed a major crush on him. And let's go back a little. He ended up going to night school because he wanted to, because they had better auto mechanics classes available. So he did that. He met a girl. She started stalking him, actually. That would be what she did, would totally be called stalking behavior now. One day he came home and she was sitting in the living room talking to his mom and dad. Crazy, right? Well, he ended up giving in and going out with her, and she ended up pregnant. Gave birth to a little girl on April 17th, 1984. And they ended up getting married. The marriage came later. He ended up getting a job in July of 84 that he ended up working at for 22 years. He really liked the job and everything, but then circumstances took a turn for the worse, and his mom developed congestive heart failure, and she passed away in June of 1986. And here's where the choices and bad things happening come into play. Damn it! After Sally died and a life insurance agent came to the house, they offered him a job. And he went and met with the regional manager, who offered, if he brought in his last 10 pay stubs, he would average it out and pay him that for 90 days, which he did. But as 90 days was drawing near, he could see the writing on the wall and could see that this job sucked. Hustling life insurance is not a good way to make a living unless you got the gift of gab. So anyways, he went back to where he was working. He lost a few places in his seniority, but nothing major. I believe he lost 15 places. But then fast forward to March 6th of 1988, Harold made a phone call and said, "I'm having a stroke, get over here." And he went over there, and by the time he got there, the paramedics were carrying him out. And that was the last words Harold ever spoke to him. And after that, everything went downhill. Harold had never officially adopted this boy, never changed his name, did not have his name on anything, nothing on bank accounts, real estate, anything. So he ended up having to buy the house he grew up in the city, had to buy the cabin up north, had to watch everything that Harold had worked for all his life go to relatives that Harold didn't even know. Harold came from a family his father had married once and had 11 children, and Harold's mother died, and then his father remarried and they had another 10 children. So quite a large family, and the people that inherited Harold's estate and the money from it were nieces and nephews he did not even know existed. So guys, it's important to have a will, or at least put someone's name on your property or assets. So those things all happened. Pretty rough time. Got divorced in 91. Fast forward to the fall of 2005, the company he worked for informed him that they were going to close shop and move to North Carolina, and none of the employees, union employees I might add, were welcome to follow. Not a single person was offered a job to follow to North Carolina. So you could see the writing on the wall there. It took quite some time for them to move. It wasn't like they could close the doors. It was a 100,000 square foot warehouse that had to be moved semi-truck, trailer load by trailer load. And when that was all said and done, because of the choice he made back in 1986 and losing those seniority positions, he was among the first group of 36 guys that was let go. In fact, he was the cutoff for the first group that was let go. They kept 10 guys on until the very end. But because of that choice in 1986 and being the last cutoff guy, he was out of a job in January 2007, which led him to head north and find a job as an auto mechanic, which was something he had always dreamed about doing. After the job loss, he went and took a state certification test so he could actually work in a shop licensed. And fast forward to June of 2008, and his daughter passes away due to bad choices, the choice being to use drugs. And like I said, today's April 17th, and if you haven't figured out who he is, that would be me. That's my life story. There's a whole bunch of other parts I didn't include. And then I ended up losing my job there at the shop in July of 2008. Tracy moved up here with me in the middle of 2007, I want to say. She might correct me in the comments on that, but I'll show you guys a picture of my dad and mom that raised me, and they'll always be mom and dad to me no matter what their last name was. And come to find out after the fact, after Harold passed away, several people that did not know each other said, "Do you know Harold is your real father?" Therein lies the mystery pregnancy back in 1963. I was the baby born in March of 1964. The person named on my birth certificate does not exist. I've tried to search him out on blank, you know the site I'm thinking of. And like I said, several people that did not know each other, never met each other, told me, well, Harold was your real father. Your mom, Sally, couldn't have any more children after the loss of their son. After some research, it was Ancestry.com, I was contacted by someone who, my grandmother was his great aunt. And he wrote me a lengthy letter, and he had all the details of Harold and Sally losing their baby. And the baby boy's name was Michael. So there it is, guys. There's the story. And I'll show you a picture of Harold and you tell me what you think. Tracy says it's a spitting image. She never met my dad. Tracy and I didn't meet till 97, so I hope I didn't F the story up too bad. It's really difficult for me to say, but like I said, if I were to include all the details of everything that happened in my life, it could easily be written into a book. No doubt about it. Hey Kevin, you need a topic for a story? I'd be willing to share it with you. Thanks for watching, guys. Now you know the rest of the story. Hey guys, I wanted to finish off this story and show you the wonderful people that brought me home from the hospital and raised me as their own. This was my mom, Sally. Her real name was Lottie, but she went by the name Sally. And this is my dad, Harold, whom I share the middle name with. Tracy said the resemblance is uncanny. I don't really see it, but she says I guess I should have a cigarette hanging out the left side of my mouth to make the picture complete. But think about this, guys. She was 47 when they brought me home. He was 46. They raised me as their own, and I never felt any different, like I wasn't their own. The other shitty part about this story, and I have to use that word, is I have a half-sister, my birth mother, Joan. I have a half-sister named Joanne. My ex-wife, from time to time, would get drunk, and she would track down my half-sister. In fact, my neighbor is a private investigator, and I had him find out where they were living down in Florida. And he actually found phone numbers for them, and I gave it to my ex, and she called my half-sister last year and talked to my brother-in-law Steve, and come to find out my birth mother passed away a couple years ago, and they couldn't even be bothered to track me down. They claimed that they tried to find me. Took Tracy all of about 30 seconds to find them on Facebook once I gave them their name, or gave her their names. So yeah, they really tried hard. I haven't reached out to her, and I don't know if I should. It's been 30 years since I talked to her, and kind of part of me is like, F them. Do you blame me? So that's my story, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't screw it up too bad telling it. Thanks for watching.